This is VOA News. I'm Marissa Melton. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken urged his Russian counterpart to end the Ukraine war on the sidelines of the G20 talks on Thursday. It was their first face-to-face contact since the invasion last year. VOA's Diane Roberts has more.
Officials say Secretary Blinken chatted with Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov for about 10 minutes at the meeting of the world's top diplomats in New Delhi.
I told the foreign minister what I and so many others said last week at the United Nations and what so many G20 foreign ministers said today. End this war of aggression. Engage in meaningful diplomacy that can produce a just and durable peace.
Blinken added that the U.S. will back Kyiv as long as needed while working on a diplomatic solution. And there were no signs of progress at the conference, which ended with the 20 nations unable to reach a joint final declaration about the war in Ukraine after objections from Moscow and Beijing. Diane Roberts, VOA News.
A Greek government spokesman says there's been an admission of negligence from the train station master on duty near the site of Tuesday's train collision that killed at least 43 people. The collision occurred late Tuesday near the city of Tempe, about 380 kilometers north of Athens, the Greek capital. It injured more than 80 people in addition to the 43 dead. Rail unions called for strikes Thursday to protest working conditions and a lack of government action to address safety standards for the rail system. The three neighboring countries of Somalia are to send new troops to support Somalian forces against the Al-Shabaab terrorist group in the next phase of military operations, this according to the National Security Advisor for the Somali president. From Washington, you're listening to VOA News. Two native Hawaiian men are scheduled to be sentenced Thursday for federal hate crime convictions and the brutal beating of a white man who tried to move into their remote traditional fishing village. VOA's Richard Green has more.
A jury convicted the two men back in November, finding that they were motivated by the victim's race when they punched, kicked, and used a shovel to beat him in 2014. Local lawyers believe this is the first time the U.S. has prosecuted Native Hawaiians for hate crimes. The unique case highlights the struggles between Native Hawaiians who are adamant about not having their culture erased and people who moved to Hawaii without knowing or considering its history and racial dynamics. According to U.S. Census figures, 38% of Hawaii's 1.5 million residents are Asian, 26% are white, 2% are black, while many people are of multiple ethnicities. Native Hawaiians account for about 20% of the population. Richard Green, VOA News, Washington.
American Cindy McCain will take over as executive director of the World Food Program when current director David Beasley steps down next month. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres and the Director General of the Food and Agriculture Organization released the announcement praising McCain as a champion for human rights with a long history of humanitarian and philanthropic work. McCain is a prominent Republican and a widow of Arizona Senator John McCain. She's currently U.S. ambassador to the United Nations agencies in Rome, which include the FAO and the World Food Program. Washington, D.C.'s cherry blossoms are coming early this year. AP's Ed Donahue has more.
The trees are apparently confused about the changing climate.
Due to the warmer than average temperatures, the trees never reached their winter dormancy, which is the starting point for calculating when the blooms will emerge.
Jeff Reinbold with the National Park Service says the 3,700 cherry blossom trees in the city are expected to reach peak bloom earlier than expected between March 22nd and 25th. The city has experienced dramatic temperature swings. It hit 81 degrees one day last week. 2 days later, it snowed.
Our natural resource manager likened the trees this year, our indicator tree, to a teenager. There's a lot going on there right now.
Washington's cherry blossoms date back to 1912, a gift from the mayor of Tokyo. Ed Donahue, Washington.
Burmese ethnic groups in the United States are urging the Biden administration to establish a no-fly zone over Myanmar and to impose jet fuel sanctions on the country's military junta. A group consisting of several different ethnic groups, Buddhist monks, and young activists from different states across the United States came to Washington recently to participate in a march on the White House. Activists are demanding an end to the Myanmar junta's airstrikes on its own citizens. Marissa Melton, VOA News.
Please subscribe, like, or comment. Thank you.